are tuning in, if you are tuning in right now, and then you are tuning in to our meditation service. From now until about 10:25, or for about the next 25 to 26 minutes, we are going to do our meditation service, after which at 10:30 Pacific time we will begin our music and inspirational message. So, right now, if you are joining us for our meditation, we always do a stillness meditation, which means we center, we allow ourselves to relax and get calm. We get into that sweet space knowing that all meditation, whether it's mantra, whether it's movement, whether it's activation or visioning or inquiry, any type of meditation is always communion with God, communion with the universal presence of truth and divine intelligence, communion with the energy of our soul. That is what all meditation shares. And so we are going to be doing stillness. I will center us, and then we will come into a space where we can enjoy no thoughts, no words to the best of our ability. And then we will come out in a wave of prayer. So that's kind of the flow of our meditation. This morning, I'm going to invite you to join me. We're going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to awaken our divine sensorium using marma points or integration points, or kind of those places on the body that open the channels and meridians, but not only physically, but mentally and spiritually. So what that looks like is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to invite you to just take a moment, and we're going to bring both of our hands. The intention, well actually I'll back up a little bit. The intention is to open the inner eye, that we allow the outer eyes to so merge with the inner eye that we have divine right seeing. Divine right seeing is the ability to see the truth. So if you're very clairvoyant, you might have a vivid imagination, you might see pictures or just colors. And regardless of what you see with your mind's eye, it's all good. No efforting, no trying. We're going to open the inner ear, and we're going to open the crown and the heart. And the way we're going to do that this morning is I'm just going to invite you. The intention is to open to providence and to be guided by the energy of the soul and divine intelligence. So we're going to do that. Just take your 3 middle fingers up to your forehead and just gently sweep down to your temples 3 times with the intention of opening the inner eye. Then I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness as we open the inner ear. I'm going to ask you to take your index finger and your thumb to the tops of your ears, and then just slowly make your way down to the bottom with a little squeezing, and then walk squeezing back up to the top, and then squeezing down to the bottom to your lobes, and squeezing back to the top. And just holding with a little bit of light acupressure as you squeeze the top of your ears, just slightly, gently, with the intention of allowing all outer distractions to fade away as we open the inner ear to the still small voice. And then finally, I'm going to invite you to bring your left hand to your heart with your fingers all pursed together on your heart center. And with your right hand, same, pursed together onto your crown. And then just with 3 gentle motions, and this is about connecting, opening and connecting our heart and our mind. You're just going to spread your fingers out 3 times and simultaneously over your heart and your crown, just sweeping across. And then letting your fingertips set on your crown and your heart, creating a connection that our heart and our mind are one with providence. All right, and with that, then I'm going to invite you to just bring your hands and rest them wherever they feel comfortable as we prepare to begin. We have opened through intention and through the integration points. Our inner eye, the inner ear, the higher mind, and the heart. We set our intention to allow ourselves to simply relax as we open even more to the holy light. We take a moment as we awaken our divine sensorium, and we allow ourselves to let go of any tension from earlier in the week, the month, last year, last decade. We don't need to know how or why. We just simply allow ourselves to use the exhalation as the vehicle of transformation and transmutation and release. And as we have opened our divine sensorium, we let go of any confusion, all distraction, apprehension, just exhaling and allowing it to release. And as we inhale, we draw in the eternal divine energies, and we fan the internal eternal flame of our divine beingness. We take a moment and we allow ourselves to let go of the past and all energetic connections to it. We allow ourselves to let go of the future and any energetic projections to it. And we let go of the present and any tethers to it. As we open fully and completely to the eternal. Allowing your breath and your breathing to become fuller and wider, fresher and deeper. Without efforting, without trying. Just relaxing. And as you feel that energy of holy light tingling throughout your body, I invite you to feel the dissolution of density, of heaviness, where you begin to feel your physical body flooding with the light of luminosity and weightlessness, merging with the energy of your soul even more. And begin to notice tingles of light and divine sensations in your toes, in your heels, in the ankles, and waves of energy rising into your calves and shins, soothing, softening, strengthening, as that energy begins to flow and rise into your thighs and hamstrings, and allowing all the muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints to relax that energy rises up into the intestines, the kidneys, stomach, and the adrenals, recalibrating, relaxing, and returning everything into homeostasis and radiant wellness. You can feel the energy rising up the spine, the entire nervous system relaxing. You can feel the energy rising into your heart center, your lungs, your pancreas, spleen, liver, and gallbladder, all recalibrating, returning to the radiant resplendence of peace and wellness. And that energy rises into the shoulders, and the eternal frequency of freedom continues to soften and strengthen, rising into your cheeks, your scalp, and crown. And as the physical body floods with the eternal light, and we can feel the energy making its way into the emotional body, recalibrating and returning to its natural, neutral state of compassion and love and understanding. And we can feel that energy moving out into the mental body as we allow ourselves to go even deeper into a divine awareness of providence, of revelation. We can feel the evaporation of thoughts, of words, and we allow the stillness to awaken us to the still small voice and visions and knowingness of the soul. We have no place to go, we have nothing to do except commune in the eternal and allow the divine mind to illuminate, rejuvenate, and expand our capacities to hold, see, and feel more providence, more goodness than ever before. No searching, no figuring, just observing and relaxing. We feel the energy rising into the bliss body, communing with the Holy Presence, becoming more familiar with the wordless, eternal vibration of the soul than anything of time or space. And it is here that we allow ourselves to rest, relax, rejuvenate, as we move even deeper and rise even higher in God. bring it back to your mind's eye with the intention of only seeing, hearing, and knowing, observing the truth. continue to allow our mind's eye to be wide open, the inner ear to be highly attuned, the mind to be open to providence. As we slowly and gently come back into a lucid state of divine awareness, knowing that every time we commune and sit with God, that we are expanding our abilities and returning to our capacities inherent and innate within us to be in the world but not of the world, to remember the truth of who we truly are. How good it is to know that just by being still and deliberately opening our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls to the light, to the love, to the wisdom and the glory of ever expanding good, that we rejuvenate, we begin again. How grateful I am to know that each of us this day, even more, is saying yes to more peace, more clarity, more optimism, more faith, more joy, more wellness, more prosperity than ever before, for these are the natural, eternal frequencies of life. Life is good, and good is God. And we open to that holy presence, the great remembering of knowing that each and every one of us, born from the heart, the mind, the light, the love of God Almighty, we are eternal beings of infinite glory. And the very same power that created every planet, every galaxy, that illuminates every star, that beats all of our hearts and breathes all of our breath, that very same intelligence that coded all the seeds to bloom and grow into the mightiest of trees and to the most beautiful of flowers. The very same energy that is flowing all rivers and crashing all waves is within us. And we sink and link and return home to this. And as we become aware of this, sustaining, maintaining, expanding our capacities to always be in a place of compassion and love and joy and wisdom. We anchor it. We come back and we ground heaven on earth to, through, and as our beingness. We ground love, we ground peace, self-love, clarity, faith, optimism, joy, prosperity, harmony, mutual beneficial love and reverence and respect. That our body temple, our emotional body, our mental body, our karmic body and body of affairs are all on the same heavenly page of ever expanding good. So I'm grateful to know that something wonderful has taken place just by relaxing, intending to commune with the presence of the soul, of the divine. And as we bring our awareness down to the bottom of our energy field, I invite you to find your Earth star at the south pole of your energy field. If you were standing, you would see it or feel it or sense it about a meter, maybe 4 or 5 feet beneath the bottoms of your feet. Many have seen it as a brilliant starburst of light. Feel it, sense it, and ground to it the holy light. The energy of the soul, of timelessness and eternal magnificence. We ground all that has been proclaimed and declared, allowing it to be good through us, as us, for us, in every way, shape, and form, in all dimensions of all incarnations. We allow the eternal light of God to have its way, remembering the truth of who we are and who everyone else is. And it is from a place of deep and abiding thanksgiving and gratitude that we simply and gently, gratefully, with deep appreciation, grow and glow even more than ever before, grounding it so, claiming it so, allowing it to be so, and we simply agree to accept it to be by saying, and so I let it be, and so it is. Amen. All right. We've just completed our stillness meditation, so as you get your bearings into a new sense of clarity, we're going to invite you to just relax, stretch. If you need to use the restroom, now would be a good time. We're getting ready in just a couple minutes to start our Sunday service, where we will allow ourselves to go even higher. So we will be back in just a couple minutes. See you in 2.
Good morning, Soul Center family. So happy to be with you this morning. Every Sunday morning is a joy around here. Thank you, Reverend Keith, for the beautiful meditation this morning. And this is the last Sunday of our anniversary month celebration. It was a long one this year. It was 5 weeks. So we're still really acknowledging all of you for supporting us to get us to this beautiful spot, and Reverend Keith for joining us 3 years ago, and Jerome for helping us every week do this and join you in your homes. So thank you. We're really, really happy to be able to stay connected. And I just do have a couple of short announcements. We do have prayer chaplains standing by. If you need any support or prayer for anything, please just email info@soulcenteroc.com. We will get you some help and some support. Same with our soul circles, a really beautiful way to connect with like-minded people in a small group. Email info@soulcenteroc.com will get you to the right group. People are still joining, so don't be shy. Reverend Keith's daily affirmative prayer call, 6 days a week at 9:30 on Facebook Live, is a beautiful way, a beautiful thing to include in your day. Every Tuesday night, we have our Course in Miracles with Akili Beckwith. All this is online, by the way. That's on Zoom. Information is on our website, soulcenteroc.com. And sign up for our newsletter if you're interested in all this. It's how you get all the information so you don't miss anything. And then it is my honor to invite Jerome up to launch our service with a reading.
Good morning, everyone. Our reading this morning is from Agape's Inner Visions Daily Inspiration Guide, submission by Gail Isabel Klein, entitled Belonging in One. The first month of the new year, 2021, and I am contemplating being one. Many of us found ourselves basically alone amidst the circumstances at the end of 2020, curiously, the 0 transitioning into the 1. We have been going back to 0. Sit, be still, and know. Because we can't go out and get busy as much, distracting ourselves with events and other people, the invitation of 0 is going back to nothing. And now we enter the 1, being all one in the one. How do we feel at one? When we sit with ourselves day after day, many of us physically alone, aside from the occasional Zoom. Here's the rub. We are all always alone and all one in God. What does this mean? It is one of those paradoxes of the ultimate truth. We are never alone in spirit, the oneness of God, because God is everywhere. That includes our own selves, even with the space between our thoughts. We are the one. To be all one is to let go of our thingness. Hence, we dissolve from zero, no thing, into oneness. So this 2021, lean into the space of all one regarding any situation, and the belonging that we long for is right here in the field of the ultimate I am, now and always. Let us pray with Reverend Keith.
Thank you, Jerome. And good morning, Soul Center. It's time to turn and tune in to the holy light. So I'm going to invite you to join me as we move into the prayer field, as we open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls. No efforting, no trying, just surrendering, choosing, intending to remember the truth, that there is a light, a love, a grace, a beauty, and intelligence back of all life. For there is no life without this intelligence, without this beauty, without this magnificence. How grateful I am to know that we can just stop at any moment and we can remember and return home, meaning we bring our consciousness back to the eternal frequency of our divine nature, and we remember that life is good. Life is cooperative, it is brilliant, it is filled with beauty and bliss, and that is all it does. Regardless of what we are experiencing as a feeling, life is good, and we choose to allow that to be good through us. To be and remember that we are the lightning rods, we are the harbingers, the messengers of this truth, and that we have everything we need to thrive. Should we choose in time and space to return home and open to a greater and grander vision and version of our lives, and the great remembering of knowing the eternal truth that you, that me, that we, each and every one of us are born from the light, the heart, the mind, the love of God, and beyond our body temples, beyond the emotional and mental bodies, beyond our name, race, religion, age, gender, geographical locations, titles, labels, accolades, diplomas, degrees, stature, beyond any of the temporal labels, there's an eternal, blissful, magnificent, intelligent being of infinite light. And I invite you to feel that, see that, hear that, know that more than ever before. For as we anchor it in our bones and awaken to it in our mind, as we allow the heart to be in cohesion with divine intelligence back of all life, we begin to experience this grace, this beauty, no matter where we are, no matter what we are doing. And so today, I take this moment knowing as a harbinger of the light that we are to bless always. We are just ceaseless being of radiant blessings, and we bless everything all the time, including ourselves. We bless ourselves with wellness. I bless you with wellness. We bless all of our friends and family with prosperity and joy, with wellness and harmony, with clarity and optimism, and returning to their divine nature. As we bless them, we bless ourselves, we bless everyone, knowing that we leave no bone, no stone unturned. I bless this service, knowing that it is a celebration of you, it is a celebration of me, it is a celebration of we, for we are all one. I bless knowing that each of us is saying yes to a greater and grander, more magnificent experience of heaven on earth, to, through, and as our beingness. And we know that consciousness, that the word, that form follows this. And so as we speak our word, it is our good duty to say yes to it, that we are in divine right receivership. So we receive these blessings and we allow them to effulgently, elegantly, brilliantly, benevolently blossom blossom in every area of our lives. We leave no bone, no stone unturned. We say yes to being good at receiving our good. We receive our blessings. We bestow our blessings. We expand our capacities to hold more good. We claim it, anchor it, ground it, and accept it, signing on the spiritual dotted line by saying, "And so I let it be, and so it is. Amen."
Now we'll do our agape affirmations and call and response. I'll speak a line and then we'll repeat it back together. I am here to deliver my gifts and follow my bliss.
I am here to deliver my gifts and follow my bliss.
Today, I simply and joyfully present myself for the good of God to express.
Today, I simply and joyfully present myself for the good of God to express.
Divine love is made visible through my presence in my workplace.
Divine love is made visible through my presence in my workplace.
The prospering energy of pure spirit blesses every aspect of my being.
The prospering energy of pure spirit blesses every aspect of my being.
Sincerity and earnestness give me wings on my spiritual journey.
Sincerity and earnestness give me wings on my spiritual journey.
I believe, I receive, and I am grateful for it.
I believe, I receive, and I am grateful for it.
And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. And it's time for our music, and oh boy, is it good today. And I'd like to welcome back our precious Rena Cervantes and Jesse Godoy, of course, and Brian Sherrick on keys. And get ready.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. This is a very special song. Can you help me with it?
Sense you there,
Was that spectacular, Soul Center? It was spectacular. Good morning, Rena, Jesse, Brian. That was awesome. So grateful for them. We rock here at Soul Center. Good morning, Soul Center. Happy anniversary, 7 years of Soul Center. And welcome if you are joining us for the very first time. My name is Reverend Keith Horwitz, and I am welcoming you to the Soul Center OC Spiritual Community, an Agape International Spiritual Center affiliate in Newport Beach. And we celebrate life spiritually, taking and rising even higher beyond some of the dogmas. Not that all religions are stuck in a dogmatic rut, but there is something beyond the teachings of all the religions that takes us into a mystical experience of understanding the laws that govern the universe, whether it's understanding the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, whether it's understanding the law of emergence and radiance and creation, as we move into these things that are mystical in nature, where we move from the laws of physics that govern and observe things like the law of gravity, and we move into metaphysics, which rises above, brings us into the mystical teachings of the embodiment of the presence of the divine through and as you. This is what we say yes to in our community, that we ask us all to participate in the conscious evolution of your own human adventure. And we're all on a human adventure, but we are spiritual beings, mighty beings. And when we blend the soul with the human, as we access the wisdom, we are accessing the mystical nature. So that is what we are as a spiritual community that observes the mystical teachings found in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, shamanism, Hinduism, Buddhism. We take that golden thread that is in all of that, knowing that we're Krishna and Buddha and Jesus and Moses and Muhammad are all sitting in spirit going, oh my goodness, we're all just the same brilliant eternal beings of light. It is all the same in the mystical realms. So we say yes to celebrating that and the eternal frequencies of good, because there are eternal frequencies and there are temporal energies. And the eternal frequencies only radiate at love, peace, joy, beauty, harmony. And then they matriculate into life as prosperity and cooperation and kindness and generosity and prosperity. Those are how they matriculate into time and space as an experience. And then there are those illusionary energies. They are illusionary. Fear is an illusionary energy that creates contrast in life. And so we are here to transcend the illusion of fear and stay sustained and expanded in being in the world but not of the world. That's what it means, in somewhat short, to be an Agape affiliate, to be part of the New Thought Ageless Wisdom Teachings. So welcome to Soul Center. Welcome where we move into the behoove groove of who you truly are. There's someone inside of you, bigger, greater, grander than you could possibly imagine with a horizontal viewpoint. You got to take your imagination and you got to move it from a temporal horizontal viewpoint up to vertical. That means you get the dynamic downloads of the divine, the DDD, the dynamic downloads of the divine through you. That is your true doctorate in life, is to have your doctorate of divinity and the dynamic downloads of the divine through and as you. And we're going to talk about what that all looks like and what that means. But I'm going to ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to go higher? Are you ready to expand your good? Because we know that in God all things are made new. That is a text from Scripture that is very profound, because it means that at any moment you can stop and allow things to be made new and fresh, because there's nothing old or stale in the divine. If it's old or stale, stale or rote, A, that's just boring. And B, that's not life. Life is fresh and new and dynamic. It is always moving in time and space. But it is in the stillness that we allow the dynamic presence to flow through us. So welcome, we're activating this. And I'm going to invite you to join me as I have proclaimed and declared that we are saying yes to never settling for less. So we just started, this season of nonviolence started yesterday. This is the Martin Luther King and Gandhi Foundation that honors growth through compassion. And so as part of the New Thought Ageless Wisdom community, we know not only is this the season that runs through April 4th, but it is the way of life as far as we're concerned. We're always in not violence only comes from the illusion of fear. And we don't participate in the illusion of fear. We participate in the dynamic presence. Now, yes, does it take sometimes, does it take some moxie? Does it take some mustering to get into the behoove groove of who you are? Yes, and that's why we have a spiritual practice. Our practice makes perfect, or better put, our practice reveals the perfection of the divine through you, should you choose to practice. If you wanted to be a ballerina, you are certainly going to be the best if you practice. If you just sit at home on the couch, or if you're just on a daily routine, week in, week out of going to your job and coming back, or I guess today it would be going to your computer and coming back to the kitchen, whatever it is, you're not gonna have that practice to lift you into a greater and grander. Just as we have Brian and Jesse and Marina, they refine their gifts, allowing themselves. I love watching them, but they don't just sit there and do nothing all week and then joke. They are living from that space of brilliance and beauty, tapping into the gifts. Our topic today is in sight of a recipe for success. We all want the recipe for success, and sometimes in spite of what's going on, especially these days, in spite of what's going on, we gotta get into the insight of our lives. And so some of us, right now, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes at Soul Center. A lot of you, we're looking for a space, we're looking for things, we're looking at expanding, visioning for Soul Center. Life visioning is how we tap in and we say, yes, what is God's vision for Soul Center? What is God's vision for our programs and our classes, etc.? What is the vision for our new home as we prepare to step into it? But while we're doing that, we're also enjoying where we are right now. We're allowing ourselves to understand that there's a progression of goodness that just takes us from glory to glory. If there's anybody out there who's just biding their time, if you're out there biding your time, waiting for Corona to be done, going, is it going to be done by June or September? Is it going to go into next year? What's going on? I'm going to say, stop! Enjoy. Life's blissful magnificence is not dependent on coronavirus being over, and it doesn't matter whether you think it's an illusion, because technically it is a spiritual illusion because there are no viruses in the divine. But as we know, on our spiritual journey, we have to be aware of where we are in the spiritual evolution of our human adventure in comparison to what's going on in the world. How much does the world have me? And so without making it bad or wrong, we just know that we are journeying to a higher and greater experience in spite of what's going on. In spite of and in sight of. So the insight is we capture the vision of knowing that eventually in the highest form of your human evolution and the embodiment of your divine soul, you will be impervious to anything of the fear or temporal based world, which would include disease. The avatars, the masters, were cognizant of this, not in a boastful way, but in an embodiment way that is humble and brilliant. And as we're journeying, we just take note, knowing that God is omnipresent everywhere. God is in a vaccine. God is in a knowingness that I don't need a vaccine, whatever it is. But we don't do it in a phony way. We don't pretend to embody a spiritual wisdom or knowingness. We know where we're at and we know where we're going. And in spite of what's going on in the temporal world, we become cognizant of, how am I going to move through this grand adventure into greatness, into more good, glory to greater glory? How am I going to participate in that? And that is through our spiritual practice and through knowing that in spite of means that we are unaffected by a particular factor. So in spite of that somebody was rude to me, in spite of the illness or the insult, in spite of the economy or politics, in spite of that person or that thing, in spite of that, because I'm not going to get pulled into the temporal factors of the illusion, in spite of, and yes, I know, sometimes that person comes along and they say or do something and it stings. Sometimes it stings, sometimes it hurts. And in spite of that hurt or that sting, we still move to a place of opening to the insight that will liberate us into a greater and grander experience of cooperation and cohesion and connection with all of life all the time. And it is an evolution. It's an evolution from the human perspective, because the perfect blueprint of the energy of everything that is all well in your beingness, physically, emotionally, mentally, in every dimension of every incarnation, is with you. You have it with you everywhere you go. But do you access it? Do you explore it? Do you get in there and start looking around and saying things like, what is it? What does it look like to experience more radiant wellness? What does it look like to experience more prosperity? We want to get in there and look and understand that our language, the way we speak, is of utmost importance. The way we speak in our subconscious and the way we speak with our consciousness. There was a gentleman, an American, I guess he was a linguist, back in the 19th century, and his name was Benjamin Whorf. And he studied linguistics from all the different cultures around the world, and he was enamored with the Hopi tribe of the Native American culture, because they spoke primarily from the present. They spoke from the present tense, or they spoke from the present perfect of an ongoing. So they were always in the I am of the present tense, or this is what's happening now of the present tense. They hardly ever paid any recognition to the past. And when you think about it, language is tied to time and space. We have the past, the present, and the future, and whatever we speak to that is what pulls us energetically into the past. So if I'm bemoaning and belaboring the ills and the ailments of the past, it will pull that energy of the past into the present. And if I am pushing stuff off into the future, or if I'm projecting, heaven forbid, things from the past into the future, I'm tying myself to time and space. And the reason, many of you have heard over the years, that the I am statement, which is speaking from the present, and we have all of the different tenses. We've got the past, present, and future tenses. We've got the past perfect, future perfect, and the present perfect tenses of I will, I would, I could, different variations of how we speak. Most of that ties us to time and space. But what you aren't going to find in any English class or study of linguistics is the eternal tense. And I'm going to invite you to the eternal tense of speaking, where we speak in the eternal tense of I amness and a knowingness that proclaims who you really are, because you are an eternal being. And so as much as language is great, and as much as we're not going to have someone come up to us and go, so what did you do yesterday? And I'm like, oh, I'm in the nowness of being. I can't talk about the past. No, that's not where we're going. But we're going to have command and dominion over how we speak about any given situation or circumstance. Because what has happened does not have to affect what is or may be happening. And by becoming in command and dominion over our word, and he noticed as he studied linguistics and he studied the Hopi nation, that there were a lot of ills of the time-space languages that did not befall them, because they lived from that space of being more in the present moment. So we could take a clue from that and allow ourselves to know, because we know, as Ernest Holmes would say, that word gives form. It gives form to the unformed. And when we speak our word, if we want to give form to the unformed, then we can't bring old form into now. We have to start fresh and brand new and allow ourselves to be liberated that we speak. So in spite of what has happened in the past, and in sight of what we are creating as this grand and glorious adventure into the future, knowing that as you grow in this, you will see the dissolution of time from your beingness. We've all experienced it to one degree or another. You've been in a meditation, or maybe you were at a concert and you just got lost. You got lost and you didn't know if a minute or an hour or a year had passed. You were in the eternal presence. We've all experienced that. We've all experienced where we've been somewhere and it seems like, oh my God, this has been going on forever and it's only been 3 minutes. Because we're allowing the illusion of the temporal irritations and frustrations and fears of time and space to creep in, which then starts to affect our time-space experience. Now, time and space is wonderful because it's what allows us to have experiences, but we are not bound by that. And as Benjamin Whorf, one of his sayings was, language is not simply a reporting of an experience, but a defining framework of it. A reporting of an experience, but a defining framework for it. The defining framework for it, he was also a very spiritual individual who understood how creation works. And so as we begin to step into a greater and grander experience of the law of creation. Now, the law of creation stipulates that there's a divine spark that comes through you. You grab that divine spark as it makes its way down into your heart center. Your heart then reveals it to your mind. Your mind then reveals it to your consciousness. And your consciousness, which is where you choose from, gets to say yay or nay. Of course, in the perfect blueprint of this, it's always going to be yay, and also it will be yay because it only yields goodness. So I'm going to invite you to join me to say yay and yes to that divine spark. But sometimes in the stillness, when you're listening to the divine spark that says this and you say yay, and then all of a sudden you come out and you allow the temporal world to get a hold of you. And then all of a sudden, you start to move over to a nay. And you start to nix out what Providence just revealed to you. This would be the misuse of free will and free choice, and misuse just means you're not going to yield what you were after. And so what you're after is joy, is peace, is bliss, is mystical, magnificent adventures. So in spite of an ailment, in spite of a financial situation, in spite of an argument, or maybe if you look, so for example, years ago, I've shared this so many times about how I was bullied as a child and how I had a healing and a revelation, but one part I never shared with you was the flip side of that coin. So I was bullied pretty profoundly with physical hitting and verbal abuse, etc., etc., etc. And but when we take inventory, in order to cleanse the energy of the past so that it no longer influences the present, we take inventory. And I was sitting in meditation and I reflected back on a time, and two profound things came through in this reflection. One was one of my best friends. He was a young man young boy, because we were 3 years old when we met, and we were thick as thieves for years. We did everything together. And then when we got into adolescence, when we were preteen, just getting ready to turn into our teenage years, life started getting funky, and there was a betrayal that took place from this friend of mine. It wasn't huge, it wasn't horrible, it wasn't so bad, but it ended up making that I chose to not like him. I started to plug into the temporal, and of course, what do you expect from a 12-year-old? He had plugged into the temporal, our feelings get hurt, and then me and a couple other friends started to tease him. And we started to make fun of him because he had betrayed us in a particular way. And then it was kind of one of those frenemy relationships where we weren't enemies just yet, but we were getting there because the energy of the temporal, of the irritation and the hurt was starting to snowball. And so we played dirty tricks on him. We had a sleepover. We tried to put his hand in the warm water. You know what happens when you do that when you're sleeping and all that jazz. But what was interesting is that night, I'll never forget it, it came up in a meditation. I won't forget it now, but I had forgotten it many years ago, is we were teasing him and tormenting him and putting, and then he would wake up and he went home crying in tears, absolute tears at about midnight, and because he couldn't take it anymore. And that came up to me and I was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't participating in nonviolence. And remembering that the definition of compassion is not only non-violence, but it's non-aggression, and it's non-disturbing. It is about being so loving. It's about, as the Dalai Lama would say, it would be holding a holy wish that whomever you see is released from any kind of suffering. And so I wasn't doing any of that. And again, that had happened decades prior to this sitting in the meditation and having it come up and being like, ooh, and what do I need to do about this? And I needed to cleanse the energy of the past to be liberated so that the now could really anchor in the eternal frequency. And then shortly after that, and this is going back about 15, 16 years ago, shortly after that, he came back into my life. And we started dialoguing and everything was great. And we dialogued a little bit about how he felt during that time. And we were able to get to a place of, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And we cleansed the energy and we were back to being thick as thieves again, because the thick as thieves energy was the real energy. The being upset and disturbed by something someone did is the illusionary energy. And so we take responsibility for our actions and for our words, and making sure that our words are giving form to something magnificent. But if I think that everything that is done in the past, if I think I can remember every little move I made in the past, don't be fooled by that. That's why we go into contemplation. That's why we go into meditation. That's why when we pose a question of inquiry in the stillness, we're asking for providential awareness, and it will bring forward that which needs to be healed and that which needs to be revealed. And then it will give us the divine marching orders of that which will purify all of the energetic connections to the past so that we may live fully and purposefully and deliberately in the present of now, in the eternal tense of our beingness. So sometimes in spite of means I have to cleanse things. In spite of that. And so then you move to a place where when he was doing what he did that got me irritated because I was betrayed, and then I went into a reactionary state and did what I did to hurt him back, that is a recipe for disaster, but that recipe is not the recipe for success. We're here for a recipe for success. Recipe for success means in spite of that hurt, let me see what's going on by that hurt and still hold you in loving compassion. Years ago, I was working as a volunteer in an organization, and there was a team of us that came together. And we were working on certain things, and when you work, you get personalities in a room together, sometimes things happen. But we were all volunteering for something very magnificent for a particular community. And some personalities were clashing. And somebody got very upset with another person in the group. And they said, you know what? That's it. I'm out of here. And they left. They no longer wanted to serve their community. It was it was an at-risk youth organization. And they didn't want to serve anymore because their feelings got hurt. So instead of taking responsibility for themselves and understanding, maybe there's something in here, there's a paradigm, an old paradigm, that's seeking to break open. And in spite of what you said, in spite of your behavior, I am going to look for the insight of what magnificent growth opportunity there is. Walking away from things is not always the answer. Walking away from things, if I walk away from it lock, stock, and barrel, usually means all I'm doing is shoving it down. And it's going to rear itself somewhere else to remind us you shoved something down. So we wanted to, in spite of the economy, in spite of Corona, one of the things that's going on with coronavirus, and I know a lot of people are waiting when it's over, can't wait. Well, then we haven't gotten the message yet. Because to isolate where you can commune with spirit and feel the deliciousness all the time, that's what we're after. So it doesn't matter whether it's a conspiracy, it doesn't matter whether it's an illusion, it matters what's going on in here, and that I take inventory, I take responsibility, and I want to feel the deliciousness of the divine, whether coronavirus is going on or not. I want to feel the deliciousness of optimism and joy and peace and love, regardless, in spite of what's going on in the world. But that takes a choice. It takes a choice of turning and tuning within and orbing and cultivating and fanning the flame within us and giving up being offended. Being offended has never served anyone. It has never brought anyone into the behoove groove of who you truly are. All it's done is let me separate and sulk and fester and harbor resentments. And we don't want to do that. We want to lift into a greater and grander experience. So I'm going to invite you to join me. Now, we don't always do this in our spiritual community. Oftentimes, we focus more on the affirmation than the in spite of. But I'm going to we're going to do a twofold thing. So, in spite of, if there's anything going on in your life, if there's a body ache, whether it's, something in the knee or the back or whatever it is, whether you have a condition going on, in spite of the illness, I am resplendent in radiant health. In spite of lack, I am overflowing in benevolent abundance. in spite of politics, harmony, cooperation, and compassion flourish. And in spite of disrespect, all of my relationships are kind and sacred. Now, what you can do is, because sometimes in the needing to be heard department of the human experience, we just have to vent a little bit about what was wrong to be understood before we proclaim the glory of what we're after. Now, sometimes we vent and we forget to proclaim the glory and the truth of what we're after. So, in spite of, fill in the blank, I am allowing the glory of the kingdom of heaven to happen to, through, and as my life now. We're moving from in spite to insight. We are embodying it, and we are allowing our word to come into form. And then when you get to the point where you no longer need in spite of, you can just take the latter half of the equation and say, I am resplendent in radiant health. I am overflowing in benevolent abundance. I am harmoniously and cooperatively living in a compassionate and loving world. And all of my relationships are kind, sacred, and holy. We can live there. But sometimes we got to do the in spite of this. In spite of so-and-so's nasty remark, I'm choosing to know so-and-so as brilliant. I'm going to get a new BFF out of this no matter what. I'm going to allow it to be good. I'm going to anchor it. So we don't take anything at temporal face value in our spiritual community. If you size something up and it has a tingly, icky feeling about it, then it needs requalifying. And that's where we say, in spite of this judgment, I'm knowing compassion and love. And as we are in the season of nonviolence, as we look upon some of the masters like Gandhi and Martin Luther King, who chose to grow and glow affirmatively. Yes, did we meet some challenges along the way? Yes, that happens. But that's why we lean into our spiritual community, and that's why we lean into our spiritual practice, and we allow ourselves to pray and to meditate and to intend and choose aright. And do not make the mistake of allowing your horizontal purview to affect your life. Move to the vertical imagination and inspiration to guide, direct, uplift, and connect you. And remember that, as it says in A Course in Miracles, nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. Nothing of the fear or temporal world really exists. That's part of creation. And we create that. We're in charge. We get to do that. And I'm going to invite you to join me to say yes to allowing it to be good and fun and joyous and amazing, and that this is a great and grand and glorious adventure. And with that, I'm going to invite you to join me as we tune and turn within to the prayer field. This is, as a reminder, prayer is what takes us from time and space to the eternal. And it is in, and what Benjamin Whorf also was very keenly aware, as he said it in his statement, when you feel it, when you feel the presence, when you speak the word, speaking a word and aligning with the power of the eternal behind the word is what activates the transformation. And we are here to transform or return home to who we truly are. So I'm going to invite you to join me, and remember that prayer takes us from the finite to the infinite benevolent. It takes us from time and space to the eternal. It takes us from lack and limitation to overflowing good. And with that being said, we hold our hands, whether you relax them or bring them into prayer mood or whatever feels good to you. We open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls even more than ever before. Even more. We open to the divine holy presence. That is our intention. We allow ourselves to open to the eternal frequency of ever-expanding good and the great remembering that we, each and every one of us, born from the light, the heart, the mind, the love of God, the divine, indwells within us as an eternal expression of beauty. And it is dynamic. We allow that dynamic presence to fill, thrill, overflow, and expand and express itself through us, that we remember that the very same power that is flowing every river, that drops snow from the clouds and rain and strikes lightning, the very same power that is crashing waves, whether gently lapping upon the shore of a lake or brilliantly as enormous waves that surfers love to flow on in the curls and enjoy the magnificence of the power of gravity, the power of the moon and the earth. We open to that resplendent power, and we know it is within us. We choose today to remember the truth of who we are, and that we speak our word only from a place of truth, only from a place of love, only from a place of seeking and finding good all the time. We say yes to this. We say yes to knowing that compassion is the way the universe expresses itself into the world in time and space as love. Love and compassion, which means we are filled and thrilled with patience and faith and optimism, and that we don't take anything personally. And despite and in spite of anything that's said anywhere on the planet by a politician, a friend, a family member, or someone that we used to not like very much, we say yes to the loving, dynamic presence of sacred, holy relationships in every way, shape, and form, especially with ourselves. We allow ourselves to love ourselves and see ourselves and know ourselves as God knows, loves, and sees us as eternal, brilliant angels of the Most High. We say yes to the cooperative nature of ever-expanding good, and we ground it. We ground it, for we know that as we use our word to grasp the eternal and pull it into time and space as an experience, and dissolving the illusionary barriers of fear, worry, or doubt, that it spontaneously erupts and blossoms into goodness, but we must ground it into the fertile soil. The flower must germinate up through the soil, so we ground. We ground peace, love, prosperity, joy, infinite benevolent potential and possibilities, harmony, serendipity, and synchronicity to, through, and as our beingness. We ground it in our bones. We ground it to our earth star. We claim it, own it, and allow it to be. Speaking our word, knowing it is God's good pleasure to bring forward the kingdom of heaven. We allow it to be. We claim it so in deep and abiding appreciation, in deep and abiding thanksgiving, knowing it's already done in the mind of God. That which we are seeking is seeking us, as Rumi says. And so we say yes to being sought and found right here, ever-expanding good, grounding it, claiming it, owning it, agreeing to it, signing on the spiritual dotted line by saying, and so I let it be, and so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Ashe, aho, mahalo, shalom, hotep, and hallelujah. All right, Soul Center. We are saying yes to this, and now, as we say yes to ever-expanding good, just take a minute to let it matriculate and integrate into your bones and tissues. We're getting ready to do our time, our offering. Our offering, you know, as Soul Center, we're a spiritual community, the only way we generate income is through donation. So if you're tuning in for the first time, we hope that you enjoyed our service. If you've been with us for years from the beginning, we're grateful for you. And participating in the law of circulation at its highest vibration means you got to put something in to circulate. And so we are going to allow ourselves to circulate that as our tithing, the highest vibration of prosperity. And so I'm going to invite you, you can donate or tithe several different ways. You can, oh, here it is. You can text the word GIVE from your phone to area code 669-342-2157. You can go to soulcenteroc.com. Scroll down to the big orange button at the bottom and hit donate now. You can get our mailing address and send a check in if you like. And if you're on Facebook, I believe you can find the donate button there, and you can even hit right there without leaving this window. So we appreciate that, and know that we are growing our community, and we bring that energy into circulation, and we truly appreciate all of you who have been buoying our community during a time where some people have been on furlough and etc. So we're really grateful, and really play with the energy of circulation and allow yourself to experience the maximum return. No better return than investing in the divine. And we're grateful for that. And so, as you prepare your tithe and hit those donate buttons, we're going to invite Rena, Jesse, and Brian back in to tantalize us and touch our souls even more with song.
Thank you once again for having us. This song goes out to Jessica and Sadie. Sadie especially. I hope she enjoys it just as much as I've enjoyed learning it. It's a song that's very special. It teaches us that we need to lead with our feelings, with our voices, believe in ourselves, and believe that every moment presently is our moment.
glorious. Brian, Jesse, we love you. And again, if you want to go to area code 669-342-2157 and text the word GIVE for our donation, for our tithing, for our collection, and our expansion. We surely appreciate it. And we know that as you circulate and tithe, it comes back to you minimally, tenfold. Claim it, own it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do our blessing, our prayer of a blessing on the offering, extending our heart through our hands. Ah, how good it is to know that the universe, that God, that life is abundantly, benevolently, brilliantly opulent. And it holds nothing back. And we say yes to opening the floodgates individually and collectively. In our bones, in our cells, in our emotions, in our mind. We say yes to knowing what it's like. All needs met all the time. Benevolently, brilliantly. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this offering. Knowing that it continues to bring forward the programs to cover all of our needs, that we say yes in deep and abiding gratitude, knowing that our soul center community is soul-centered and says yes in our 7th year anniversary to going from glory to greater glory, prosperity to more prosperity, for you, for me, for we. We say yes, we allow it to be. We claim it so, we allow it to be so, and so it is. Amen. All right, we're getting ready for our peace song. So if there's anybody you want to bring in, maybe somebody stepped out for a second, grab them as we close out our Sunday service. Remember, we'll see you tomorrow morning for our prayer time. And stay abreast by getting our newsletter from soulcenteroc.com to keep abreast of everything that's going on. Remember, we have our prayer chaplains that you can use to hold you in prayer. We love you, Soul Center. We're going to sing ourselves out.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our power, loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song about. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
As we let peace, love, joy, wellness, goodness, prosperity in every way, shape, and form begin, flow through, expand in every area of our lives. We say yes. We say yes to living the eternal light of the soul to, through, and as our lives. Glory to greater glory, love to more love, peace to more peace. We let it be now and unto forevermore, grounding, claiming, and allowing it to be so, and so it is. Amen. We love you, Soul Center. Have a